everyone. Welcome to Ask the PLANMAN. Everything you wanted to know about finance, insurance, and more, but were afraid to ask. I'm your host, Bruce Weinstein, and I have a belief that everyone should have some form of a plan, whether it's a financial plan, a retirement plan, an exit plan for your business, a fitness plan like David and I have, a travel plan. Each week, we bring you different topics to help you maximize and understand your plans. Today, I'm joined by David A. Perez, CEO of Tax Plan Experts, author of the book, very intriguing read, Build Your Own Economy, or How to Build Your Own Economy. You got to put the hat on with the BYOE.
Yeah.
And we're also going to talk about his latest talk that he's hitting the circuit, how to be part of the 3%. So David Perez, welcome to Ask the PLANMAN. Let's dive into how you came up with your concept and the idea of your book, How to Build Your Own Economy.
First off, thank you so much. I really appreciate you and your audience, your listeners. I know they're obviously trying to build a plan. They're talking to the plan man. So let's unpackage that. You're saying you want to know how I came up with the concept, huh?
Well, tell us what the book, the message in the book, what you're all about, because you're out promoting it. You got your book, your branding is a lot behind the Build Your Own Economy. You and I are big on social media. I see a lot of your posts. We follow each other. And so let's tell my listener what that's all about.
Well, first off, I believe that everybody should build their own economy. And that's an interesting statement, I know, to some, because it does allude to a lot of things, right? Building your own economy can mean something to someone, and people think economics. But the truth is that building your own economy is living life on your own terms. So it's your ability to take full control of the outcomes, the results that you produce in life, and the lack thereof results, right? So it's the self-made, no matter what you've done or haven't done. That's what it is. And it ties into more than just finances. You know, I believe there's 4 key areas of a personal economy that you would work on. Number 1 being your wealth, the accumulation of assets. Number 2, your health, the protection of the most important thing, which is how you live your life is truly a reflection of the outward appearance of your body. Number 3, a legacy, which is what you're going to leave behind, the remembrance, if you will. And then number 4 is how you live it, through values. And values are very important to me because it's what guides your decision making every day. It's truly what you believe and how you show the world that you believe it. And all of these components put together really build what I call your own economy. And one of the statements that really led to this is one time, you know, I heard somebody talk about the White House, and I was listening in on their conversation, and you know, everybody was so concerned about what's going on in the White House, right? What's happening in the White House? You know, the president's making X, Y, Z decisions. And the truth of the matter is, it doesn't really matter what happens in the White House. It only matters what happens in your house. And that concept, you know, really came from a lot of years of not thinking that way, right? Of not being that person. And today, I just truly believe that everybody should be building something of their own. They should not be a dependent. They should be independent. They should be freestanding, and they should be protecting the most important things that they love, which is themselves and their family.
So the concept of build your own economy, in sense, you and I are self-employed. I've been pretty much self-employed my whole career as a financial advisor, investment advisor, insurance agent. The few times I've tried to work for somebody else, all things end badly, otherwise they never end, right? So I've been self-employed. I generate my own income. And if I'm hearing you right, at the epicenter of all of this is to be in control of your economics, the direction of your economics. And as I see you put a lot out in the social media spaces, you talk about passive income, getting rental properties. I know you enjoy real estate as one of your investment vehicles, and you know, whether it's commercial or residential. So you're in essence, if I could label it, you tell me if I'm wrong, is, you know, building your own economy is saying, look, I may have my business, I may have my cash flow, as Coach Burt, you and I are under his tutelage, talks about, is having other income or revenue streams to offset and protect your business and we all have our core business, and then it's building up these other cash flow instruments or vehicles, in essence, i.e. is your economy. Is, you know, if you define the word economy, I guess in the United States, is it's not just one industry, right? There's automotive, there's technology, there's housing, there's clothing, right? So they're all their own economies, but together they come together. Food, it's all these essentials. And so the economy in the United States, the economy of the world is made up of so many different components. And so I think David's taking that into the sense of, well, what's the United States of Bruce, right? What's the United States of David and Karen? And that is, what am I doing to build my own economy so that I'm not just reliant on book sales or, you do speaking. We'll talk about that a little bit more on the workshops and boot camps you run. But am I on? Am I hitting it the right
Yeah,
way? Are we in the
yeah.
audience?
So Aristotle defined the original definition came from a Latin word called economia, and that was a derivative and of the word today. Of course, today is economy. Now, Aristotle said that the economy is really the science of household management, and it's how you manage resources within a household. So it was very small at the beginning, and then as this concept of economics expanded, it was then taken on in different forms. And one of the modern day economists today that kind of founded the movement of economy and macro, micro, and all those things, his name's Adam Smith. And Adam Smith said that originally the definition of an economy was the science of building wealth. And so I turned that into the accumulation of assets. It's the accumulation of strong health. It's the accumulation of whatever wealth means to you. But by nature, you and I believe, I know this, is that money is exactly what we need to be pursuing in order to be not fulfilled, but to have a fruitful life and to be able to provide and to give and to do. And so when I think about economy, and I think a lot of people think about it as just money, and I'm not against money. I would just say that there's a lot more to it than just thinking about how you make money, because money can be easily made and it can be easily gone, but your health doesn't disappear. The legacy you leave is not just about money. It's the things they remember you for. It's your books. It's the lessons you taught. It's the values you drove home to your family and those generations to come. So it's a lot of things put together, but economics is not really the term. And I know that's not what you were saying, but I'm saying to the world, like, economics is simply just us managing ourselves.
Well, it's a tree, right? The tree of life, and there's different limbs and branches, and you broke it down into 4 or 5 different components of that tree, right? So we're the trunk, and then as we evolve and grow, our different branches open up. And you and I were at a conference recently, and we got to meet Chuck McDowell, and we're gonna have him on the show. And Chuck has made, he's very successful. People can Google him, and not to take away from David here, is he's made his money. He's in his 60s, and he basically talks that entrepreneurs, which David and I would deem, us to be entrepreneurs. It's a mental illness. Like we all have a problem that we keep doing these things, right? He said, but
it's a disorder.
For these are his words, is any entrepreneur should die with 2 things. They should be exhausted because they never stop working, right? You and I are always on to something else and adding and fixing and tweaking, and it's just in our bones, and that's what an entrepreneur does. And then the other piece was what you tied in with legacy and your values is, Chuck said, and die broke. Die broke. And in his way, and as we got to know him when he was at the event, is he's very big in charity. I think he says outgive God or something like that is one of his slogans. And so his wealth has provided him the ability to help others, and his value and his legacy is being defined by giving away his money, as wealthy as he became. We all know nobody's figured out how to take it with us, right? And so he's planned and plotted. And so David's got his 4 points in here of health and wealth, right? Health is wealth. Plenty of wealthy people that are crippled in a wheelchair and don't go to the gym and can't go to Vegas and can't do a lot of things, right?
I saw a guy. By the way, I saw a guy, an older gentleman that was probably in his 60s, at a at a craps table trying to lean over it on Saturday because I was in Vegas, and he was doing high roller slots, and high roller bets, and just looking at him, I'm like, man, this must suck. You're at the high roller table, you're in a wheelchair, like. I guarantee it didn't look like he was in that way. Well, he wasn't even in a wheelchair. He was in one of those carts that has the wheels and the power on it, you know.
The
And I'm like,
jazzies, the jazzy.
yeah, and I'm there thinking like, golly, like I don't know if the guy was wealthy or not, but he was in the high roller room, and I'm thinking, you know, it must suck to be able to come here and throw away, you know, money like this, but you can't walk out of here on your own accord. Like that must suck, man. Like, and I wasn't hating on him or anything. It's no disrespect to the gentleman. It was just in my mind, like I don't want to be there, and I don't think anybody wants.
It,
Nobody
it
wants to
left
be there.
it left an impression, right? You're seeing his struggle, right? There, but for the grace of God go I, right? Like I have what I have, and this gentleman, so he may have made it financially better than we have, but look at his struggles, what his plight has been. So yeah, we all get our baggage. I have many lines I share on my shows as they progress, but uh, life, right? Life, no one gets out alive. No one gets out alive, bro. So we all have our plight and we all have our paths. And so I'll bring it back to the how to build your own economy here. And let's tie it into the plan, man. Why I thought this would be a great forum for you to come on. And, you know, what we're all about is planning, right? Strategically, you could put so many different words in front of planning, whatever that might be: tax, wealth, legacy, right? So the plan man wants people to do and take control of their lives. And in essence, there's a tie in here and an overlay with what David's doing. He's defined it a little bit differently and broke it into those four branches of health, wealth, legacy, and values. And so that's his walk, right? This is David's path. And he's out there and he talks about, he creates curriculum and forums. I've seen him recently hold, we have a 3-day boot camp he just held. Okay. So what are your boot camps about? What do you, for 3 days, what are you talking about? I could talk for 3 days. I don't know if anybody wants to hear me talk for 3 days, but what are you talking about for 3 days?
Well, let me kind of tell you guys. So I'm the CEO of a company called the Tax Plan Experts, and in that program, I guess let me tell you some of my background. So in my background, I've been in the financial services industry for 15 years, specifically taxes. So, you know, a lot of my foundation comes from saving people money on taxes, because for a long time I had seen so many people having to give away their hard earned money to the government, and then to see that money go to use in things that really don't benefit a lot of us. Now, I was not always I'm not wealthy, but I wasn't always making money. So a lot of the years that I spent early on, I didn't make much money. So I didn't really realize how bad of a problem this was, right? And as I progressed in business, I started to see the fruits of my labor, and I started to see the impact it was having on me. You know, I was paying the IRS, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the first few years, and I'm like, crap, this is ridiculous. We got to figure something out.
You got
And I
a
was
heavy, silent partner. Sorry.
Yeah. So what'd you say?
I said you have a hefty, silent partner. They're getting
Oh,
as much
yeah,
as you're
yeah.
getting, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really focused on personal tax returns, and I was doing some business, and then I realized, golly, there's got to be a better way. So I started to work on a lot of planning for myself. And in that process, I started to learn and research and grow. And then I started to transition and say, oh, I should be helping a lot of people like me, hyper growth business owners. And so I transitioned that. Now, along that journey, I would get a lot of people who I ran into who were in the same industry as me, in the tax industry. And they would say, David, how do you do this? Like, how do you help people? What do you do? And I would give them advice and help them through the journey sometimes. And then it became overwhelming, and to the point that over the last few years, a lot of tax professionals come to me and say, David, there's a few things you do really well. First off, you know how to find the clients, you know how to help the clients, and you know how to develop a business that really runs and grows, right? Because we do multi-millions, you know, already. And so I've had just kind of been a magnet to the industry, and I started to do these boot camps for tax business owners or CPAs, EAs who really want to do what I'm doing, which is help their clients maximize their ability to take advantage of the tax code. That's what I do. And so this last boot camp that we had was specifically for tax business owners. We had CPAs, EAs, and tax professionals in the room. And for 3 days, all we did is break down high-level concepts of not only how to save money, but not how to maximize tax returns, but also to manage and develop their teams and build a business that's, you know, something that can continue to grow, because a lot of that comes down to the way you market, how you present, what the plans are, and all these things. And so for 3 days, I just broke it down, which was a lot of fun. But I do things all over the place, and I should share this with you. I'm going to announce this on your show because we just solidified some things this morning. This is a big deal. I'll show you this. Most of my events have really been around the tax industry, and I realized that although I love this industry a lot because that's where I'm in, I know that my movement is building your own economy. You know, living life on your own terms, and so. We have already arranged and are securing engagements to have the first building your own economy. We don't know if it's going to be conference or summit yet, but next year we've got a huge venue booked already. We've got the contract on my desk. I'm about to sign and execute that. And it'll be a big freaking event where we're going to be talking about health, wealth, legacy building. We're going to talk real estate. It's going to be how do you build the thing that never stops, man. It's going to be huge. So doing these events is something I love doing, and this is part of it.
All right. Well, if there's room up there with our plan man, let me know.
Plan man, I like your style.
It might fit. That's great. Do you want to share the location yet or no?
Right now, I'll keep that a little secret because there's a few things. It's going to be big, man. We've got some big deals going. And by the way, I put on these kinds of events. This is going to be the first time we've ever done this type of event, but to be truthful, a lot of the things that I'm doing today are just an expression of who I've been in kind of the shadows for many years, right? Like I've already been a guy who's helped a lot of people. We've filed over 50,000 tax returns. I've served thousands of business owners. I've delivered to the world a lot of things. And now what I'm learning is that I have accumulated a lot of skill sets, a lot of relationships, a lot of things that I've invested in that are now starting to come to fruition. And so just like you and everyone that I've kind of associated with over the last few years, it's just, it finally, that 10 years, it takes 10 years to, and I don't say I'm an overnight success because I'm not even that successful, but I feel like I'm peaking.
You're hitting your stride. I kind of felt when I was turning 50 and the kids were leaving the house and almost done with school, like now it's my time again. So you're in that you paid your dues, you found your why, right? We talk about that often is, two most important times in people's lives are when they're born and when they figure out their why. So you found your why
they were born.
And then you're moving in that direction. So let me just go back. I want to clarify in case the listener missed it. So the boot camp you just did is for more oriented for tax professionals, but if I'm hearing you right, the Build Economy 2023, that's going to be mass appeal. That's not for the insiders in the tax industry, but back to building your own wealth and talking about those 4 branches, correct? So that's going to be for everybody.
Yeah, actually, so interesting thing you said this, and I'll ask you this because I want to ask an opinion. Could I ask your opinion? You tell me something. So this event, the Building Your Own Economy, we're either going to call it summit or conference. This would be for hyper growth people. Hyper growth being people who are on a trajectory that's going to the next level. This isn't going to be, I mean, honest truth. I don't want it to sound bad, but I don't want people who aren't ambitious, who aren't willing to grow, and who aren't willing to invest in themselves. I mean, because we're going to make this so serious, and I don't mean like seriously where it's no fun. I mean, I want people in that room who are really freaking hungry, who are saying, I am tired of being average. I'm tired of being independent. I'm tired of allowing the world to run me over. I'm about to bull this shit. That's what I want. And so the question is, we're thinking about making this an application process where the only way you're going to get to this event is if you apply.
So it's like getting into Harvard's grad school or Penn or right? Like, you got to apply and you got to compete for the seat and you got to show your worthiness, right? Because you just can't get into Wharton.
Yeah. And the reason we're trying, and I don't know, you can give me your feedback, but the reason behind this for me is just because I want to have serious people, because we go to events all the time and I see people who walk out in the middle of the event or the seats in the back are empty, but it was sold out, and it's like, you got to take life serious. I want people who are really committed to growing themselves, their business, their family, their relationships. I'm talking about going into relationships. I'm talking about getting into health. I mean, I'm already envisioning bringing in one of the biggest health experts in the country coming in and talking about how do you act, how do you get to the next level in your health? We're going to be doing IVs out there. We're going to be doing, man, some next level therapy things. Like, I'm thinking huge, like big time, man. What do you think about the app?
So I'm happy to discuss it. I don't know if we want to take the time of the studio for the audience because they're going to start clicking us off. But I like Summit, and I love the idea of the application because you're going to create scarcity, right? I've been to insurance conferences over the last couple of years. I usually pay for the best seat. I like to be in front anytime I go to a work. If I'm taking my time, carving out time out of my busy schedule to go to something, I want to make sure I'm getting some from it. When I'm at Coach Bert's events, I'm in the front row or close to the front row. Unless you got there before me, I'm taking that seat, right? So uh, I don't leave early unless it's a train wreck conference of some kind, and I'm going to get my value. So to your point, you're if I'm hearing it right, is you want to make it a mastermind style. You're going to take it high level. Again, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the wealthiest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? So David's going to create an event. I hope he approves my application, uh, and you want to surround yourself with that high quality, high level, high thinker. I'm not a think tank type of guy, but I'm an ideas guy. I'm a mud on the wall. I'm outside the box thinker. That's what the Plan Man's success has always been. Is I'm outside the box, right? You're going to get a cookie cutter financial plan from everybody out there. You're not going to get that from me, right? And so you're taking that concept to this level. But I'm happy to talk to you about it offline.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. I
respectful.
just thought if you
I'm
like the
respectful of your
idea,
time. No, I love the idea. I love the idea. But let's. I
yeah,
want to
let's
cover
keep
your.
going,
I
man.
want
I'm
to.
sorry.
I know you're on a clock, and I want to keep our audience dialed in with you on. Let's talk. So when I saw you speak last, and you did an outstanding job, and I complimented you afterwards, I thought you were vastly improved year over year. So good for you there. But you talked about the 3% and how people can be, should be, want to be part of the 3%. So I wanted to give you the ability to get that message out on top of build your own economy because they are cohesive with each other. And so before we run out of time, let's dive into that. We'll circle back. We'll give everybody your contact info, and then you and I certainly can talk more about the summit, which I
Heck
just
yeah,
laid
I
out.
like that idea.
What's the name? What was the name of the 3%? I don't want to misstate it. What was the
So
actual
become part of the 3% club.
3%
And
club?
the 3% club is the 3% of taxpayers that make over $250,000 who pay absolutely nothing in taxes.
So
Zero.
let's make sure people heard that. 3% of the people out there make over $250,000 a year, and what David's saying is they pay zero income
Correct.
tax.
Now, just for the alternative, 97% of the people over 250 do pay taxes. So there's a small little sliver. So when people say, by the way, when people say that millionaires and billionaires don't pay taxes, no, only 3% of the 97 of the 100% of people over 250 don't pay taxes. So the majority of people do pay taxes today, but there is a sub select few who have figured out the tax code well enough to never pay taxes at over $250,000.
And this is part of David's culmination of experience in the tax planning space that he has been able to crack this, and this is what he's talking about and working either with, as he said, the boot camp for other tax advisors, but he's out there speaking on this now so that people can understand. I'll call it corrective action. The plan man is how can you start moving in this direction? I just did an episode. We're going to release it on the planning side of things, financial planning, but we talked about budgets and the importance of a budget. And so this correlates to you is, if you have that discretionary dollar, you're going to put it to work. You're going to build your own economy. You're going to buy a rental property. You're going to do something to create more passive income and more opportunities and affiliations. And part of that strategy where David ties this in is, there's the planning word again. It's tax planning. It's what do you do? How do you build your own economy and avoid paying tax? Because it's not what you make, David. It's what you keep.
It's what you keep, man. It's what you keep.
My
And we want to help you
early.
keep.
I'm sorry. You're from
And we want
Texas.
to help you. We want to help them keep everything. So yeah, I'm from Texas.
You're from Texas. One of I'm from the era of, I think I'm a number of years older than you, but Ross Perot was from Tejas, right? And For those who don't know the name, he ran for president against, I think, Reagan in '88. And it was the one and only time I've ever campaigned for a presidential candidate because I felt the economy, this country, and that window needed a businessman, not a politician. And 30 some years later, it's still true. We need business people more than ever. And but without getting into the legacy of Ross Perot, but one of his claims to fame was he paid no tax. His whole investment portfolio was tax-free municipal bonds, tax-exempt municipal bonds. And you don't understand and realize that is his business made him millions and billions. And so when people get that kind of nuclear wealth, they don't need risk. They want preservation and they want to avoid tax. And so when you've got $4 billion and you can make 7% tax free, which is what it was back then, what more do you need, David? Like, where's he going? You know, Gordon Gekko in Wall Street, how many yachts can you ski behind? So all he wanted was to avoid taxation, control more of his money. He got tax-free income. And then obviously he did whatever his estate planning was and left his money to, you know, whomever. But that's my time, you know, to the planning thing. Go ahead.
You know, but by the way, just to be clear with the audience, so when somebody says they don't pay income tax, zero income tax, that doesn't mean they're not paying other forms of taxation, right? There's real estate tax, there's sales tax, there's payroll tax, there's, if you live in a specific state, there's income tax in that state, so there's franchise taxes. And so I don't want anybody to be, you know, tricked into thinking that there's a tax-free life. I mean, there are strategies to mitigate what they call sales and use tax and salt tax and all this stuff. But the truth of the matter is that when a billionaire says, I don't pay taxes, he's not saying he's screwing the system and he's screwing us. He's probably paying $1 billion in other taxes. And those taxes go direct to the people, if you think about it, because federal dollars typically go to the federal government, which feeds programs that you and I probably will never benefit from. But if you pay real estate taxes, like in my area, I pay real estate taxes. I pay like over 150,000 in just real estate taxes, right? And so those dollars go to the school districts, they go to the counties, they go to the water system. Like, I mean, they do impact the people. So if you think about it, like I want everybody to know, it's not that we're anti-tax, but I definitely love controlling where my money goes. And I'd much rather support my local community because in my book, I talk about there, you know, there's levels of an economy, right? There's the macro, which, you know, let's say the government, all governments, let's call the, you know, all the continents and stuff. And then there's the national, and then there's the state, and then there's the local, and then there's yours. And in your economy is really what you want to control every day. The rest you can't control. But we can work on every single day a plan that would mitigate our need to have to interact with the rest of the economies of the world, right? Like, I don't need to go out and give my money away. I don't need to do anything. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm just all about being about, you know, independence in my own life, but that is kind of how I want it. I mean, if I had the ability, I'd grow my own food, you know, and I do my own things. And that's not to say that that's what it's all about. But the truth of the matter is that without a plan, you plan to fail, you know?
That's another one of ours.
Yeah.
we didn't create it, though. We didn't create it.
I know. I'm just saying, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. And planning to me means, in every essence of planning, when I think about what you're doing and what all the people that I talk to, is they're planning to take control every day in a bigger way, every day. Right? They want to take control of all areas of their life because regardless if anybody wants to admit it, control is what we all seek in every area. Some people just don't admit it.
I was reflecting on what you're talking about is, you know, again, another joke, you know, what's the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance? 15 years in jail, right? So we're not here to be tax invasion type people. David's certainly not promoting that, but what you drew me back to is I've been doing retirement planning seminars since the 90s. And one of my slides ties in with estate planning, and I label it social capital, right? As you're describing, paying in your community all that real estate tax for the firemen and the school teachers and the police and the infrastructure. It's a sense of social capital. And so when you plan properly, you get to leave your money to basically three. This is one of my slides. You leave money to three places. Those are your options: your family, right? Your heirs are your family, the government, or your favorite charity. I mean, that's kind of where it goes. I mean, you could give it to me and David, but we're friends and family. So you're that's it. And so if I asked you to rank those three areas, David, who's first? What's Karen and your family at some point, right? So they're first and always. So David, would you like to give them half of what you have, all of what you have, or less? I want all of it, right? So now what's in the way? Well, the government's got their hand out and they want a piece of it. And so would you like to leave some to your church, your synagogue, your multiple sclerosis, diabetes foundation, right? So, this is what Chuck was saying. Is like, you want to give the money to others and put it to better use. Well, that's Chuck's social capital. And so if I'm giving it to the government, I have no control on where it goes. It may never see my local community. And if you want to give to the food bank in your town, if you want to go to the hospital and dedicate a wing for cancer patients and pediatric cancer wing, you talk about a value proposition. How great are you going to feel be able to economically do something like that? And oh, by the way, isn't that David's legacy? Like, it's the David A. Perez pediatric such and such, right? So you're accomplishing all of those things, but without the plan, where you want the social capital, putting these things in place, people fall short. I'll give a quick, one of the biggest cases I ever worked on. We had a client come in with a $5 million portfolio of stocks. This is 20 years ago. So the inheritance tax levels are nowhere near where they were now. They were still at that base of, 600,000 or so. And I'm not going to get into weeds there. So he had $5 million. Somehow it had an $8,000 tax basis. And the money was held and managed by his bank in a trust. The trust department had the money and it was in one stock. And oh, by the way, it was that bank stock. So you talk about a conflict of interest. Okay. Now the stock had a nice dividend and they were living on the dividends. And when speaking to the bank, well, it's like, well, we don't want to liquidate the stock and diversify it because of the capital gains, which, again, I'm sure you've said it. I've said it to clients over the years. You never let taxes, commissions get in the way of taking a profit, because eventually the capital gain could go away when the stock traders, i.e. .com of 99, 2000 crash, right? Everybody got wiped out. You never took your money off the table. Well, I don't want to pay taxes.
Yeah,
well, now you got nothing.
Sometime.
Right. So what my education is, I went to courses on what's called charitable remainder trusts. And we came up with a strategy that donated the $5 million into a charitable remainder trust, so that when this client died, he and his wife passed away, the $5 million is going to go to the charity, their church. They picked where they wanted it to go. I didn't pick it. Here's social capital, right? Here's the so what? So the social capital, I'm going to put $5 million in this trust. When I go, it's going to go to my church.
Yep.
The church is
while
thrilled.
While you're alive, you get to reap the benefits.
And so what we were able to do is we were able to get 8% income from it. So we recreated the cash flow. We increased their cash flow. Oh, they have 3 children. So we bought a $5 million life insurance policy, put it in a trust. So when he does die, because that money's now gone, it's going to the charity, his kids still get the $5 million. We saved him over $2.5 million of taxation at that point in time of what we knew between the capital gains tax and the inheritance tax. And we created a total tax-free estate plan for him, and getting $400,000 of income, which, by the way, was tax-free for a couple of years because of the present value of the gift. Now, I'm getting way too far in the weeds for this audience, but you can relate to some of this. But the whole point, right, the so what is, this was a strategy that I got educated on, that I guarantee you, if I asked 10,000 financial advisors in 2003, not one of them would have known what the heck I was talking about.
Nope, they would not.
And I knew that strategy.
Even today.
It was the mother lode of cases. Yeah, even today for sure. It was the mother lode of cases. And it solved, what does Coach say? People will pay if you can solve their problems, right? So this was a massive problem that a trust couldn't figure out, didn't give advice, just sat on the money, charged him fees to keep their own bank stock. Oh, by the way, David, fast forward to the housing financial crisis of '07. It was Wachovia. It became Wachovia. That $60 stock became $1.25 because I owned it. My $500,000 became 10,000. What do you think would have happened to that client 6 years, five years later, if he never met me and never diversified that portfolio, and he had 5 million in a stock that went down to less than 100,000? He would have been financially. Do you think he would have been suing the bank? Like, it's malpractice. So again, the story in here, what we're getting to, I know you're going to run out of time, is tax planning. David's here. We talk about the different aspects of the plan man and planning. David's got two concepts. He's got a vision of where people need to go in building their own economy. And it really, at its core, if I may overlay it to the plan man, is it's all about planning, proper planning, better planning, strategic planning, having a conversation, aligning with experienced, knowledgeable professionals. I won't say I'm the smartest guy in the room, but I think I can hold up. I think David can hold up. So if it's not us, go find those that can and get the help you need. And look, you can't be short on cash. If you got to pay for good advice sometimes, right? The good advice it's what you pay for. If it's free, that's the value you're going to put on it. So anything else we didn't cover you want to make sure we get out to the crowd?
Well, I would tell you this, that, talking about the 3% club and those who are trying to either enter that club or on the pursuit of it, right? That's most of us. The one thing I will let you know is that if you're watching this and you're thinking about planning and you're thinking about estate planning, you're thinking about tax planning, you're thinking about insurance and retirement, there's all these plans that you have to think about. And I get it. The interesting thing enough is that the majority of people out there just don't understand any of these things because typically they're working with somebody, and this is not to discredit anybody. I mean, you can look at my credentials, you can look up, Bruce's credentials, you'll see what we've done. But the truth is, a lot of the times that there's a lot of people out there that are giving misinformation. And so you have to be very, very cautious when you're going out and shopping or understanding or trying to learn about concepts that are really, advantageous in some way, right? Because there's a pro and con to everything. I can tell you some strategies, and don't get me wrong, they will all be legal, they will all be great, but there may be another strategy that could be more beneficial for your goals, right? So all strategies work, it's just the goals are the big deal. And so, not to get away from everything, I would just say that you have to understand that there are planners out there and then there's preparers out there, right? And that's in the tax world. So people who prepare taxes, there's people who plan for taxes. The difference between the two, one gets financial information and then prepares the tax return, and they give you an outcome, and that outcome may be good or bad. It doesn't really matter to them because the outcome is the outcome. And then there's planners, there's people out there like myself who actually take into account a lot of things and prepare for the upcoming tax season rather than prepare, than just get the job done.
I label it proactive versus reactive. You're proactively leading them and guiding them into the next year, so they're doing the right things. The tax filer is just reactive. They can't do anything about it. It's too late. The book's closed.
Yeah.
Right.
We get a lot of people around this time of year who come to us to try to solve a problem that was created last year, right? We can't solve problems in the past. We can only solve problems moving forward. And so just kind of letting your audience know that whoever you're working with today, if you're working with a tax professional at some level, please make sure that you're asking them questions. Is this my tax bill? How did it get so high? How can we lower it? What are your strategies? And if the strategy to lower the tax bill is to go buy a G-Wagon, that's probably not the right person to be doing your taxes, to be truthful. You should never put yourself in a liability to save taxes. You should be looking for assets to save taxes. And unless obviously you need a G-Wagon, that's cool. but not very many people just need a G-Wagon or need a new F-350 Super Duty, right? They don't need that. That's just something they want. And it's just what it is. Anyway, so long story short, just make sure you're working with somebody who's a professional. And if you're not, I'm not selling you on me. In fact, tell your tax professional, reach out to me. I'd love to help them and coach them through the process. Or you can reach out to me and my team, and we'd love to help you as well. So whatever works best for you.
That's what I was going to ask. So we're going to have your info in the show notes, but give everybody a shout out. How can we get a hold of you? We want to speak to you more. What's the best way to reach David A. Perez?
Cool. Right now, I think the best way you could find me is davidaperez.com. And there you can schedule an appointment with myself or somebody on my team. You can find all my book there. You could get on our mailing email list. I mean, that doesn't even sound, but I'm not even trying to sell you anything. To be truthful, we do free tax assessments to make sure you're on the right track. We work with coaching clients or anybody who needs us in business. So there's a lot of things you can find there from me. You can also find me on any channel in social media channel. I am David A. Perez. You can find any social channel. That's how you'll find me. You can find my book on Amazon.
You've launched your own podcast. What do they find that under?
Yeah, so you can go to YouTube and find me. It's called the BYOE Show, Building Your Own Economy. So BYOE Show, which actually there's another rebrand coming on that too. So I've got a lot changing. I told you.
We'll update it hopefully before the show.
No, we're good. It'll be there still, but we're rebranding some things.
Okay. All right, folks. I want to thank my guest, David A. Perez, CEO of Tax Plan Experts. I hope that you found his information of his 4 points of health, wealth, legacy, and value in the how to build your own economy, and his value proposition and his vision of how you can take better control of your own economy. If you're making the kind of money that David's talking about, over $250,000, and you want to learn more of how to pay less income tax, not necessarily property tax or sales tax, right? You're consuming, you're spending sales tax, but you can seek out David or your own tax professional and learn more about that. So David, I want to thank you for being here. Folks, you've been listening to Ask the Plan Man. I'm your host, Bruce Weinstein. Each week, we're going to bring you different topics. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I need you to like, share, subscribe. If you're David's audience, come subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels as well. My audience is going to go do that and look for David's when it's rebranded, or the Build Your Own Economy podcast. So go like and love and share on David as well. Like to hear from you, more show ideas. Bring us your questions. I collaborate with David if we need to. Hit me up at Bruce at Ask the PLANMAN. Visit the website, www.asktheplanman. Call my toll-free number. You can call me for free, 844-PLANMAN. Like David, I'm in every social media. If it's got Ask the PLANMAN, you're going to find me. David A. Perez, thank you for being with us today. I'm mucking up my own clothes. David, thank you so much for being here. Best regards to your lovely bride, Karen. Remember, folks, if you need some advice, always get it right. Come Ask the Plan Man. I'm Bruce Weinstein. We'll see you next time, David. Thanks again.
When you need some advice, never sacrifice. Always get it right. Ask the Plan Man. Finance, insurance, and more.